Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of D.E.I. Deathwatch, the show where we chronicle the downfall and the doubling down of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm your host, Scribelight. Welcome to another Tuesday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful afternoon. It's actually kind of nice out. A little chilly, as summer has decided to depart and the fall has descended. So I think the first day of autumn just hit the other day, didn't it? So here we are. The leaves are starting to fall. It's time for pumpkin spice lattes and Halloween decorations. That's what it is, yeah. But anyway. Yeah, so welcome again. We've got some news stories for you, the latest and the greatest in the wonderful world of DEI. But who's joining me on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon? Alexander, hello. The Moist Tree Rat, good afternoon. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Who else is here? Mike Savage, Blarg. Blue-Eyed Scream, hello. Funtime Bats, good afternoon. Shady Grin, hello. Kiro Soldier, nice to see you. Who else is here? JPS, hello. And Brian Morissette. And I think that's... Oh, wait. There's a Miranda Stone here. Guys, I don't know if you know about Miranda Stone. If you don't, well, let me tell you. Boy, oh boy. But, yeah, so we got some DEI stories. I gotta say, the DEI stories are starting to dwindle a little bit. Of course, admittedly, over the last 2 weeks or so, there's been plenty to occupy the news cycle, aside from DEI stories, and understandably so. And yet, even the most recent news cycle, well, DEI can't avoid that either. Let's talk about the UCLA Equity Director. Equity Director. They direct equity. It sounds like justice, sounds like fairness, sounds like some kind of equality or something, right? Kiro Soldier, thank you so much for the donation. Still hot here in Texas. Texas doesn't do fall. I can believe it. I have family in Texas. Texas has like 2 seasons, isn't it? It's hot and cold. It's icy hot. Texas is a muscle relaxant. Thank you, Kiro Soldier. But yes, the UCLA Equity Director shows ugly side of DEI. I wasn't aware there was a pretty side of DEI, but I might be partial elsewise. Jonathan Perkins, the Director of Race and Equity at the University of California, Los Angeles' Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office, has been placed on leave for disgraceful remarks he made on social media following the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Quote, "Dude made this bed, reaped what he sowed, chickens coming home to roost, etc. Shake my head," he posted on Blue Sky, a social media platform similar to X. Similar, I guess. I have a Blue Sky account, you know, with all the, whenever a new social media thing pops up, relatively speaking, I'll lock in my handle, even if I never use the thing, just to make sure that if I have reason to, I have an account and have my name up there. So I got a Blue Sky account. I got invited early on. I got an engraved invitation from someone else who had been invited. So I have it there. I've used it, maybe a dozen times or something to post things about TED Excellence or DEI Deathwatch. But other than that, anyway, quote, "It is okay to be happy when someone who hated you and called for your people's death dies, even if they are murdered," unquote, Perkins wrote in another post. Called for your people's death. Okay, what peoples does Jonathan Perkins belong to? And in another, quote, "I'm always glad when bigots die, so," unquote. As reported by campusreform.org, Perkins indeed has a long history of this sort of vile writing. In 2022, while also in his role at UCLA, he wrote on Twitter when news broke that Justice Clarence Thomas was hospitalized, quote, No one wants to openly admit we all hope Clarence Thomas dies. This whole rule we're not to wish ill on people is silly. Uncle Thomas is a sexist token who's committed himself to making us all share in he and his treasonous wife's misery, unquote. Yes, everyone, this is the UCLA Equity Director. The author goes on. Yes, this is the person tasked by UCLA with, quote, implementing equitable and evidence-based best practices relating to improving learning and working environments and, quote, designing measures to prioritize long-term anti-racist improvement to institutional systems, climate, and environments, unquote, as described by his LinkedIn profile. Funny how the social justice left are often the least tolerant and most divisive. That's the author talking here. That's not me, but I'm pretty much in the same way. According to Transparent California's database, Perkins received pay of $131,648 in 2023, plus $20,000 in benefits from the University of California. That's a cushy gig for someone spewing hatred and division. I would love to know exactly what Mr. Perkins, what his job actually entails. What does the equity director do that deserves $131,000 a year and $20,000 in benefits? I would love to know. Perkins, of course, has made himself the victim in all of this. Quote, "It's a truly sad day. My livelihood could ultimately be threatened for stating, in the clearest terms, that I felt no grief at the death of an avowed white nationalist, a man who dedicated his life to despising mine, to despising my people, to despising our very existence," Perkins wrote. Who is your people? What are you talking about? An avowed white national? You know, Charlie Kirk made for a terrible white nationalist with all the friends of his and people he hung out with who weren't white. But I suppose that was all just an act. UCLA should reconsider whether it even needs an equity, diversity, and inclusion office and focus on delivering a high-quality education. Well, unless it's a private university, and I don't think UCLA is, they better, or else they're going to lose their federal funding. Or at least, fingers crossed, knock Formica they will. Because that was kind of the deal with the executive orders and such. But $131,000 to do what? What does the director of equity do? I would love to know. Anyway. See, I always feel like I got in the wrong business. I should have gotten into the DEI gravy train back in 2018. That was the best time. 2018 through the end of 2022. If I made $131,000 a year, and with my lifestyle being as cheap as it is, I probably would have been set for life. Oh well, I guess my ethics got in the way. Spiral Girl. Hello, nice to see you again. I'm finally catching one live. Yay. Well, here. Catching one live, it's like you're going fishing or something. I caught one live. Caught a live one. Let's see. What shall we do next? Let's check in with Forbes. It's been a little while since I've checked in with Forbes. Forbes, one of the greatest financial magazine cheerleaders of DEI. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with current events. It might. So keeping on in that wise. DEI leaders' role when it comes to social issue commentary. I don't know. What should a DEI leader do to commentate on social stuff? Maybe don't. But I don't know. Let's find out. This is from Antoine Andrews. Oh, it's a different author. Usually it's some lady at Forbes who does these. When we talk about our conscience, yes, we often say it's a little voice in our heads that tells us right from wrong. But truthfully, it's not telling us what to do. It's helping us revisit the difficult situation in front of us until we know what to do. I often think about diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders as an organization's conscience. Oh, man. Oh, is that a sad state of affairs? If DEI is your guiding star, oh boy. Oh no, here we go. I often think about diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders as an organization's conscience. We're uniquely qualified to contextualize socially relevant or compelling issues and help determine the merits of organizational investment in them. You're a DEI leader and you're uniquely qualified to determine merit. Okay. This includes areas like public advocacy, internal communications from leadership, coaching leaders, or simply empowering employees to safely express themselves. Okay, I'll bite, since we got a live one. Give me an example. What are you talking about? Knowing when to bring social issues forward for discussion is all about nuance, and it's something we must navigate thoughtfully. When SurveyMonkey conducted research into workplace trends, we found that 45% of survey respondents indicated workplace conflicts related to political and social identities were on the rise. Well, and here's a thought. Don't bring up politics at work, and the only identity you should be dealing with is your name. Oh my gosh! Problem solved. Do I get like a finder's fee or something for giving you that solution? We also know that social advocacy drives employee engagement, according to Gartner. Whatever Gartner is. Although we can't address every pertinent social issue in the workplace, we can help create a culture that values curiosity, open dialogue, learning, and accountability. Diversity, equity, and inclusion leaders have the opportunity and the privilege to listen to and be a part of that essential conversation. Here are some things to consider when raising issues and facilitating productive conversations around them. Okay, again, I would love to have an example. When was this published? September 23rd, so just today. So, what is it? Why is it your business? I mean, if I'm the DEI executive at a company, how do I, insinuate myself into political conversations amongst my, I don't know, coworkers / subordinates? What is the purpose of this? How does this contribute to the workplace environment or everyone's productivity in bringing up social issues? Shouldn't we be talking about our work duties? Anyway, reflect on the issue. Before you bring an issue forward to your leadership team, is it all up to me? What if it's something that everybody's talking about? Ask yourself what you know about it and how it relates to your company. What if it doesn't? Why bring it up at all? Is it a highly contentious issue? I keep thinking in so many words, they're talking about either Charlie Kirk primarily and or Jimmy Kimmel. Not that these two events are equitable, but they are big in the news right now. And this article published right now, I'm going to assume it's Charlie Kirk. We're just not going to talk. We're not going to say Charlie Kirk. We're just going to imply Charlie Kirk. Is it a highly contentious issue? In the sense that political assassination is a contentious. Sure, yeah. How does it impact your employees and customers? Only as much as you allow it to, or that it has affected them personally. But they should keep it out of the office as far as I'm concerned, because that's professional distance. I'll just say it again, professional distance. Are people talking about it? Boy, howdy. And if so, what's the general sentiment? Well, it all depends on which coast or which part of the country you're in, apparently. Answering these questions can help you better understand why the issue is gnawing at you. Wait a second. Why do I need to find out what the employees and customers think about this thing for me to understand why something is gnawing at me? Okay, answering these questions can help you better understand why the issue is gnawing at you, reveal big picture impacts, and even reframe or clarify your own perspective. Are you even going to give an example at all? Understand your role. I'm just going to scroll through this at the intent and holding this. Okay. Yeah, this is nothing. This is a fluff. Absolute fluff. If you're not going to give an active example, it's fluff. It's meaningless. Yeah, it's obviously like, yeah, we don't want to actually mention the name of the person whose life was taken in this entire tragedy. We're not going to give any credence to anything or take any sides. We're just going to talk about, in general, like if something bad is happening in the world, what should you do about it? I don't know. You guys had plenty of experience with George Floyd. I couldn't get to the end of people telling me about all of the struggle sessions and internal conferences and counseling that everybody needed after George Floyd in corporate America. I mean, there was at least one or two different panel discussions where the DEI executives or the CEOs, whoever it was on stage like, when my business came back the day after George Floyd died, we kind of all had to take a break. I told everybody, get off your laptops. We're going to talk about this. That kind of thing. JB, Liza, Subscribbles. I ordered the film Kushingora, a.k.a. 47 Ronin, made in 1962. It's about 47 Ronin looking to avenge their samurai lord who is tricked/forced into committing harikari. Should be good. I have heard of that movie. I hear it's pretty good. In a related vein, but obviously not in the same genre or anything, there is, of course, the movie Ronin with Jean Reno and who else is in there? Oh, yeah, Robert De Niro, of course, and Stellan Skarsgård. And they make an allusion in there, or not even allusion. There's a story buried within the movie about the Ronin. And I think it was the 47 Ronin. So there's a connection for you. I think it's the guy who played Drax in Moonraker is in that movie. And he talks about the 47 Ronin. So there you go. 1 degree of separation. Also, Jill Powers, the River Daughter, is here. Hello, Jill. How's it going? I miss anybody else in the grand scheme of things? Hope not. But thank you, JB. Hope you enjoy the movie. And let us know over on the Discord server in the movie section what you thought, because that's what it's there for. Anyway, so yeah, Forbes has more fluff piece advice for corporate people that of an indistinct variety that's practically useless. But what advice do actual professionals have for those seeing challenges in DEI? Well, let's find out. Dr. Dwayne Edwards, Jarvis Sam, and Brandeis Daniel speak on DEI's future amid challenges. Quote, wake up and pay attention. And also breaking news, Ryan Roth found guilty in Trump golf course assassination attempt. Well, I think it was kind of a slam dunk from the beginning, but there you go. So there's some breaking news there. Okay. The annual Black Footwear Forum, sure, took place at Pencil Lewis College of Business and Design, the country's only design-focused HBCU, in Detroit from Thursday to Sunday, and the political landscape has changed considerably compared to the last time the conference gathered 1 year ago. The Black Footwear Forum. There's a channel for everything. As many individuals, institutions, and companies are keenly aware, the Trump administration has unleashed a crackdown on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts since the presidential inauguration in January. In a panel conversation titled DEI 1 year later, wait, what? That was the title of the talk, by the way, guys. I'll say it again, and I'll put the quotation marks on either side. This is the title of the talk. Quote, DEI 1 year later, ellipses, wait, ellipses, wait, ellipses, wait, ellipses, what? Capital letters, testosterone, unquote. 3 influential figures from the fashion industry reflected on the changes that have occurred over the past year and how to chart a path forward. I'm more curious to know why DEI is so prevalent in a footwear sense, but sure, why not? Those speakers included PLC Detroit president and Jordan Brand Design alum, Dr. Dwayne Edwards, that's D''Wayne, Dwayne Edwards, founder and CEO of DEI firm Rainbow Disruption, Jarvis Sam, who also served as Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Nike, and Brandeis Daniel, founder and CEO of Harlem's Fashion Row. I'll take your word for it. Daniel believes that a recognition of humanity can still be found in the industry in which she works. A recognition of humanity. What? Quote, I think we're at this place right now where we all have some big choices to make. And what I'm finding is that in the fashion and retail space, I feel like there is still humanity in the forefront, she said. Okay. Quote, and I don't know if that is because of what we do is so creative, but really, I think we're at this crossroads of seeing each other's humanity. Seeing people who may not look like us or agree with us or believe like us, and actually seeing that person as someone to be valued, unquote. Why are you a DEI officer then? Because that's antithetical to DEI. Okay, Harlem's Fashion Row is dedicated to supporting designers of color. You're kidding me, really? Okay, so Harlem's Fashion Row is dedicated to being racist, okay? And in the midst of an anti-DEI legislation, the organization has achieved remarkable success recently. Oh, okay, well, how do you measure success? Daniel said, we're still on Daniel, quote, my concern right now is, I said to my mom the other day, where is the love? And just really valuing each other. Us at Harlem's Fashion Row, okay, I'm really excited to say that we've actually had our best year this year. In what sense? In like, you're like financially or DEI wise? What do you mean? Daniel conveyed that persistence in the face of adversity is key. Quote, I think there's something to be said about staying consistent despite what we see in the world. I think we have to, as creatives, and we have to learn how to work and move forward in the midst of all the distractions, and that is not easy to do, she said. You know, I believe that she is a professional DEI executive, because I've now read, three and a half paragraphs of her speech, and it makes absolutely no sense and says absolutely nothing. Signs of a pro right there. While acknowledging it's difficult, she encouraged holding on to positivity, creativity, and vision in spite of the headlines. What are you referring to specifically? Okay. Anyway, Sam, that's Jarvis Sam, meanwhile, offered his perspective on what this last year's suppression of DEI really means. Quote, it is a proxy war that is being waged where DEI is being utilized to attack major themes like civil rights. I agree. DEI is being used and has been used to attack civil rights. Wow! I didn't know I'd find a kindred spirit here. Yes, DEI does attack civil rights. It places a value on people on the basis of their race or their gender, or oftentimes maybe even their orientation. You know, in violation of things like Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And for those organizations that accept federal funding, violations of Title VI. Wow, that's great. I can't tell you how happy I am to hear somebody finally say it. Moving on, some of the provisions outlined in the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Act of 1965, to attack them directly would create clarity that your actions are indeed rooted in racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia, unquote. Oh, I misunderstood. Oh, I see. So you think that DEI is reflective of civil rights, not a counterpoint to. Oh. I got way too hopeful there for a second. Okay, well, this is me. Rose-colored glasses. Sam continued, quote, and so you see this attack on corporate DEI as a proxy war to indirectly say, quote, well, if we strip these rights here, if we challenge these approaches there, maybe no one will notice the underlying element or impact of it. Yeah, kind of like with DEI. If we keep telling people it's a good thing, it's a positive thing, if we just change policies in corporate America and our politics and our granting programs and things, and we say it's there to, address historical imbalances and disparities, well, then people won't notice that we're actually turning back the clock on civil rights. Self-reflection is a thing. As black professionals in the space, folks, wake up and pay attention. The ways in which we operated and navigated the world last year have to look fundamentally different this year. Yes, you have to hide, because what you're doing is wrong. It is both legally questionable and morally suspect. And so, yes, you're going to have to do it differently. It's going to have to look different in order to avoid scrutiny. That's partially why this show is here, to keep an eye on it all. Sam also reflected on how things have shifted for black people in the workplace since the death of George Floyd. Yes, as we know, guys, George Floyd, epitome of loyal and hardworking employee. Role model for everyone, not just black people. Okay, quote, to be black in the workplace following George Floyd's murder felt challenging. If you say so. We were called upon in ways that we had not been before to be a voice, a sounding board for realities that our leaders should have been exploring themselves. However, what started to happen is there was this upward trend of care about our careers, about our development, about our retention in organizations. Yes, there was an artificial injection into elevating people on the basis of their skin color to make everybody look good, because visual disparities are obviously evidence of discrimination. Hear me loud and clear. Much like in 1912 when the Titanic hit that iceberg, that ship has sailed. Yeah, you know why that ship has sailed? Because A, it's been proven out over and over again that giant investments in DEI don't pay off. B, by elevating people into positions they were not prepared for simply to pad out the aesthetics of your company, you end up bogging everything down with people who don't know what they're doing. And as well, it's always been legally questionable, and only since the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action have companies had to face the possibility that they may face legal pitfalls for applying this stuff. And Donald Trump just galvanized that. It was already in process in late 2022. You can look up the news articles of companies starting to divest themselves of DEI programs and DEI executives either quitting or being fired or something. This was happening long before Donald Trump became president again. They don't want to mention that for some reason. They want to lay it on Trump. Kildrig, thank you so much. Appreciate it. This reminds me of my employer's sexual harassment training. The examples given range from actual essay to an innocuous statement taken the wrong way. Definition is so broad and vague as to be meaningless. Yeah, and so you walk on eggshells around everything. And anybody who has even the barest chip on their shoulder has ammunition to take down anybody for a sidelong glance or a particular vocabulary word they decide one day is offensive. Microaggressions, microaggressions, microaggressions. Right? And this was also an outgrowth of the Me Too movement. And then you have all these women complaining that men don't talk to us anymore. It's like, well, because you made yourselves a minefield of potential litigation or job loss. Or the people that were speaking on your behalf did so. It's been a crazy last few years, like about 2017 forward. No, not 2015 forward. It's just like the last decade has been just absolute bug nuts. And so, we're only starting kind of, and I hate to use the phrase, we're all starting to kind of get woke about it. Well, thank you, Keldrick. Appreciate it. Let's see. Much like in 1912 when the Titanic hit that iceberg, that ship has sailed. We hit that iceberg in January of this year. No, he hit that iceberg roundabouts fall of 2022. The sinking has been going on since, but it was the fall of 2022 that the iceberg was hit. But again, you don't want to acknowledge what was really happening to DEI before Trump became president again. It was already on a downward slope. Your identity alone is not enough to keep that job. It's not enough to garner a promotion. It never should have been in the first place. Your identity alone. Yeah, no, it never should have been. And what our speaker means by identity, of course, is the most surface level elements of someone's makeup. Your skin color, your gender, your orientation. Thank goodness that's changing. If that was true before, thankfully it seems to be changing. With that acknowledged, Sam emphasized that black excellence must be embodied in the workplace. How about just excellence? Why do you have to put a racial component to it? Why not just be good at your job? Edwards also emphasized that excellence is paramount. Well then, okay. In sentence 1, there's a racial connotation. In sentence 2, it's just about the actual output. Okay. Quote, I have to remind people that HBCUs are inclusive institutions. Then why have the racial component in there either? They've always been from the very beginning, and they've always been built on excellence. And when you have excellence at the forefront of your vision, how you function and how you operate and how people see you, that's budget proof, unquote. If you say so. According to him, it's important, however, not to apply too much pressure to oneself. Oh, no. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take your time now. No need to worry. Sam said, quote, it is okay for us not to be It is okay for us not to perfect. Okay, is that a misquote? Or is that what the person said? Because I would assume it was meant to say, it is okay for us not to be perfect, but it is reading, it is okay for us not to perfect or perfect, but it is how we come back from that I think really counts, unquote. Wow. Sage advice. Yes, everybody. If you make a mistake, the real test is what you do afterwards. Do you give up or do you try again? The conversation also turned to the importance of cultivating community and relationships as key to one's future. Daniel said, quote, what kind of makes Harlem's Fashion Row work is that there's this community at the core of everything that we do, unquote. Is there a racial filter for what counts as being part of that community by any chance? I have to ask, since everything else prior to this has said that it's all very race-based. Edwards asked Daniel how designers are readjusting and moving forward right now. Designers? What? Okay, what does Donald Trump's proxy war on DEI have to do with design? For designers with their own brands, Daniel said, quote, this is your moment. Citing a McKinsey study that reported 45% of all consumers want to shop diverse-owned brands and predicts that African Americans will spend $70 billion a year in apparel and footwear by 2030. Quote, go for it and really own your culture, she said. Oh, McKinsey, will you never stop cheering on this nonsense? And will companies not stop using it as their only basis for action? I mean, okay, in the last decade, I would think they'd be able to point, admittedly, I don't know how long their company's been around, but let's say at least 10 years. In the last decade, how have your profits been based on this entire, ideology? Have they gone up? Have they gone down? What's it been? Why do you need McKinsey to tell you that it's worthwhile? Shouldn't your business model and your focus already tell you that? I mean, this is the Black Footwear Conference, right? You do it every year. How long does this go on? Not much longer. Okay. Daniel noted that things are a little different for designers navigating this moment who are working in-house. Can you work in the field as a shoe designer? There are some bright spots, she pointed toward the recent Polo Ralph Lauren campaign spotlighting the African-American community of Oak Bluff's Martha's Vineyard as an example. I'll have to take your word for it. I don't live in Martha's Vineyard. Saying such moments, quote, help to reiterate how important our culture is in different contexts, unquote, but emphasize that in-house designers are struggling and have been since before this year. Oh, you mean so before Donald Trump got back in the office? Huh. Black designers who have worked in-house for a brand have always struggled to ascend. There's very few black creative directors. There's very few black design directors at companies, and so there is this constant struggle. Well, again, if your only assessment of success is the race of the individual, then, okay, what does that tell you about your priorities? And what's happened over the last year has made it even more difficult because they're saying, Brandis, you thought I was dealing with something before, and now people are being a lot more egregious and unapologetic, unquote. What? What? Let me try that one more time. I'm quoting here. And what's happened over the last year has made it even more difficult because they're saying, Brandis, or Brandeis, whichever, you thought I was dealing with something before, and now people are being a lot more egregious and unapologetic, unquote. Okay. Forming strong relationships, she stressed, is key in this regard, and she encouraged getting to know people outside of corporate walls. Well, I hope you have some kind of life outside the office. Sam also explained a metaphor of walking a tightrope in corporate life and mentioned that tightrope bias most affects black women. Showing up completely, authentically, or completely assimilating both can result in falling off the tightrope and with no safety net for protection. Quote, we have to be that safety net for each other in the workplace, Sam said. Quote, let the audience believe there's nothing there, but always be there for one another, unquote. Victim, 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 forever and ever and ever and ever. Forever. I'm not even sure what that was all about. So there you go. From the Black Footwear Conference, the annual Black Footwear Conference. All right. It's like I didn't know what I was getting into when I picked the story. So. But let's move now into some things that at least sound productive. Sounds like something good is happening. First off, we're going to go to the Justice Department. I saw this the other day and I was like, oh boy. And this is actually at the U.S. Department of Justice's webpage. I've been asking over and over and over again on this series, when will we see some federal action to some of the things I complain about? Well, this is a good sign. Here we go. Justice Department investigates Austin, Texas for racially discriminatory employment practices. Oh, music to mine ears. It'll all depend on how far it goes and what it does. Today, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division launched an investigation into the city of Austin, Texas, to determine whether it engages in employment practices that discriminate based on race, sex, color, and national origin in violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. They misspelled it. It's the Civil Rights Act, not the Civil Right Act. Uh-oh. The Justice Department didn't spell their own spellings. Now, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as amended, quote, the Department of Justice will not tolerate discriminatory race-based employment practices and DEI policies in Austin or other cities, unquote, said Assistant Attorney General Harmeet K. Dillon of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. Quote, such practices are illegal and un-American, and we will vigorously protect equal opportunity and hold accountable those who seek to perpetuate vestiges of outlawed discrimination, unquote. This is the part that I want to see. Specifically, the hold accountable part. I don't want a fine. I don't want a slap on the wrist. I want something meaningful. Something that will scare these administrations in different cities around the country to stop this stuff. And to be called out when they do it. According to its website, the City of Austin's Office of Equity and Inclusion, Equity Division, quote, works across all city departments to build capacity and leadership in working from a racial equity lens, unquote. I see. Well, if you want equity, but you predicate it with racial, you're filtering on the basis of race. The Equity Division publicly promotes city guidance that recommends delineating, quote, clear racial equity expectations regarding hiring, unquote, applying, quote, stronger racial equity criteria to the design and execution of executive level searches, and using, quote, racial equity tools, unquote, that are, quote, designed to integrate explicit consideration of racial equity in decisions, including policies, practices, programs, and budgets, unquote. Oh my gosh. It's been a long time coming, but here we go. If Austin is the test case, I hope it goes well. I can read the notice letter here. I suppose I could. Let's see. Mayor Kirk Watson, City of Austin, Texas. And there's basically everything that was quoted in the release. Oh, here we go. The plan's guidance includes, this is the City of Austin's plan, quote, for managers, delineate clear racial equity expectations regarding hiring, incentivizing use of best practices within hiring processes to minimize bias. So basically putting a bounty on your race quotas, and incorporate equity throughout all phases of hiring processes. Oh, man. Yep. Number 2, apply stronger racial equity criteria to the design and execution of executive level searches. Right. 3, collect and analyze demographic data in major job classifications to identify gaps in representation. So demographic disparities, each department will identify a specific major classification not reflective of city demographics and develop and implement strategies to eliminate the gaps. So artificially placing people into positions in order to fix the aesthetic problem. Each department should develop specific targets for eliminating gaps using national best practices. Yeah, racial quotas. And lastly, racial equity tools designed to integrate explicit consideration of racial equity in decisions, including policies, practices, programs, and budgets. Good. Now, as I say, the question is and will remain, does anything meaningful come from this? Time will tell. Thank you, Kiro Soldier. Austin has become a mini LA. I hate being downtown. Did you see the whole thing about them changing their logo? They spent like, I think I did a story on this, or I mentioned it in one of the things the other day, or on maybe it was on my Twitter page. Let me find this real quick. Here it is. So they spent like $1.1 million or something. It was at least north of $1 million, and a year or something of people's time and energy, I forget what it was, in order to update the city's logo. Okay, so what I'm about to show you, on the right, is the old logo. On the left is what $1 million+ and a year's worth of deliberation buys you. Okay, are you ready? Here you go. Yeah. So you had a coat of arms type thing. It looks like an actual seal for a municipality. Yeah. And they changed it to something that in my mind looks like the logo for the brand of toilet paper you'd see at your town's best public restroom. I mean, seriously, that looks like a toilet paper logo. I don't know what to tell you. For those of you that live in Austin, you have my sympathies. That is major stupidity. And what is... Okay, it's an ugly logo, it's a stupid logo, but I am curious, what is the logo meant to represent? I mean, obviously the letter A is... I don't know the geography of Austin off the top of my head. Is the blue line supposed to be a river that runs through Austin? Or is it like a hill? What is that supposed to be? Yeah, is it a mountain? Is it a hill? Am I looking down from above and that's like a river running through Austin and bifurcating it or something? Or is it just a stupid design? Is there a meaning to it? Am I supposed to be looking at the negative space and seeing like a guy with a nose and an Elvis haircut coming down? I don't know. Anyway, $1 million. And an ugly font, too. I'm sorry. I pay attention to fonts quite a bit with all of my Photoshop memeing and everything. And that is one lazy font. Look at the U and the N are just flipped images of one another. Why? It's silly. The whole thing is silly. I have an answer. Lake Austin that flows through downtown. Okay, because I was trying to figure like, okay, am I looking at a hill, a mountain, a valley, or is it like a lake that goes, or a river that goes through it? Okay. All the same. Stupid logo. I would have taken the original logo and like, I don't know, if you had to change it, I don't think it needed changing at all. It's classic. It's got that sort of like, old-timey sort of American feel. Not so sure about the Aladdin lamp. I don't know where that comes from with the city of Austin, but keep Austin weird, whatever. But yeah. Anyway. So that's the smarts of Austin, Texas, and now they have the civil rights arm of the Department of Justice on them. Let's hope that something comes from it, because this is going to be one of those tests of how serious is the Trump administration in actually cracking down on hiring practices in places like municipalities. Going after corporations is a little bit different. I assume, because we haven't seen anything yet, except from third-party organizations that have been suing companies and things. But so fingers crossed. Knock Formica. And now our last story. Oh boy, guys, here we go. I saw this and I was just, Wells Fargo. You've done some crazy things over the last few years. Wasn't there like a whole scandal about making a zillion fake accounts, moving people's money around and stuff? Oh boy. Wells Fargo moves to settle DEI lawsuit over claims it held phony job interviews. Let's find out. Wells Fargo and its shareholders agreed to settle a federal class action lawsuit alleging the bank misrepresented its diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring initiatives by holding phony job interviews. Terms of the settlement are being negotiated. It's going to be a fine. Dang it, federal class action lawsuit. I realize it's all civil. It's all going to be financial anyway. Is it going to be at least a significant fine? Something? Anyway. Terms of the settlement are being negotiated and expected to be submitted for court approval by October 13th, according to a September 15th filing in the U.S. Northern District of California. The U.S. Northern District of California. From February 2021 to June 2022, the plaintiffs claimed in the suit that diverse candidate interviews were shams and held despite the fact that another candidate was already selected for the job. Oh! So they were doing performative diversity job interviews. Interesting. Well, who would be tracking that in the first place? Quote, "We believe the claims were without merit," Wells Fargo said in a statement to the Charlotte Observer. Quote, "Wells Fargo does not tolerate discrimination in any part of our business." Do I need to look up the Wells Fargo diversity reports from 2021 and onwards? The bank also noted the U.S. Department of Justice and Securities and Exchange Commission closed investigations into the allegations without taking action. Well, great. I mean, why hold somebody accountable? Take action. That's what you're... Boy, you know, when I saw the headline, I thought this would be a more entertaining article. No, it's more frustrating. It's once again somebody being caught red-handed doing something shady and nothing happening. They pay a fine and they're done. A court hearing has been requested for mid-November over the settlement in principle. The San Francisco-based bank has its largest employee hub in Charlotte with about 27,000 employees. What happened in the Wells Fargo DEI case? All right. SEB Investment Management AB, filed the complaint on behalf of plaintiffs in September 2022, claiming that Wells Fargo misled. I read it for the first time, claiming the Wells Fargo, not claiming that Wells Fargo. I am reading it as it's written, guys. Claiming the Wells Fargo misled investors about efforts to increase DEI efforts for higher paying jobs. The bank denies those claims. For all U.S. job openings paying at least $100,000 a year or more, Wells Fargo mandated that at least half of the candidates come from a diverse background, which on the recruiting side is discriminatory and illegal. But anyway, the Charlotte Observer previously reported this included underrepresented racial or ethnic groups, women, veterans, well, at least you didn't mention them last this time, LGBTQ individuals, and people with disabilities. In 2022, the Securities and Exchange Commission scrutinized the bank's hiring practices. And last year, a California federal court judge rejected Wells Fargo's efforts to toss out the case. Well, now they're just basically not even going to punish them for it, so what's the point? Wells Fargo said that it was dedicated to DEI and does not tolerate discrimination in any part of its business, even though, what was it again? It mandated that at least half of the candidates come from a diverse background. But Wells Fargo does not tolerate discrimination in any part of its business. Okay. In Wells Fargo's 2024 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion report to the SEC, the bank said that 46% of its 238,000-person workforce was racially and ethnically diverse, the Observer reported. So, not white, I guess. Wells Fargo said then it was committed to advancing diversity even in the current political climate. Okay. But in the wake of President Donald Trump's anti-DEI executive order signed January 21st and a broader backlash building against such programs, Wells Fargo changed its references to diversity and equity in SEC reports this year. 7 out of 9 of the largest publicly traded companies in the Charlotte area, including Wells Fargo, dropped references to diversity and equity. For instance, Wells Fargo cut its pay equity review section that included, quote, promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, unquote, listed in last year's 10-K filing. But Wells Fargo's website includes an inclusion and accessibility page that says it's committed to building an inclusive workplace. Yeah, they're just changing the names of things. Okay, so they held a whole bunch of fake job interviews just to make it look like they were doing the DEI stuff, and that was some kind of illegal fraud or something. Is the federal government actually going to end up doing anything? I mean, I'm glad they're looking at Austin. I have yet to see a major financial institution or corporate entity experience any kind of pain for their DEI nonsense from the federal government. There have been, allusions to such things happening. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that poster child of corporate America to finally have to pay a price for violating civil rights all these years and breaking the law. When is that going to happen? Glad to see it's happening at some colleges. Glad to see Austin, Texas. Something's happening. But will anything... Okay. I don't mean to do this every episode, but it seems like, will something substantive happen? So, yeah. Abdicatus, they may not have faced legal repercussions was because suspecting they are doing it is easy, proving it in court hard. I understand that. The thing is, when you have companies over and over and over and over again in their public filings and their prospectuses and their reporting saying in no uncertain terms, we value and are promoting a system of racial discrimination in hiring, gender discrimination in appointments, and on and on and on. I don't know what more evidence you need when you have a company telling you, here's our quota and here's what we're valuing employees on the basis of. These are public declarations. It's like walking into the center of the town square and saying, I robbed 7 banks today. And then just standing there, you at least think you'd be taken in for questioning. But in that case, it's not just a declaration in words, it's written down on paper, it's filed. A lot of these situations to me, and admittedly, okay, I'm not a lawyer, I know. But when you have company executives standing up on stages in panel discussions and promotional videos at conferences over and over again saying, again, and declaring that here's what our values are, here's what we do, here's how we assess our hiring practices. Seems to me it's more than just a guessing game as to whether or not something was going wrong. And I'm not trying to be bitter at you, Advocatus. I get it. There's a lot more nuances and legal hoops you have to jump through and everything. But just as it's not to me it's not just a smell test anymore. It hasn't been a smell test for years. So I'm glad things seemingly are happening. But I'm still waiting for something meaningful to occur in the realm of consequence. Let's see. What is that? What is this? 260 million adults live in the United States. Okay. But only 77 million voted for Trump. Just 30%. Okay. Can Trump deport the 70% of American adults who have never voted for a felon and their children? Well, unless they were in the country illegally. So the answer is no. So, and I don't even know if those statistics are correct. But, it's possible. A lot of people don't vote. A lot of people don't care to. Or they voted for, somebody else. Anyway. All those things don't really indicate they were actually falsifying interviews. Yeah, it could be sour grapes on the part of people that just didn't get jobs. And they decided to say, oh, those were fake interviews. They'd already decided. But it looks like they're not going to take any action against Wells Fargo anyway, and they're going to settle rather than deal with it. So whether or not Wells Fargo did anything untoward regarding these interviews, fact remains that Wells Fargo was valuing employees and basing hiring decisions on race for years. They said so. They declared it so. They have their diversity reports out there saying so, and they got quotas for it and everything else. But they're just going to get away with it. You know, they're not going to take any action. The federal government's not going to take any action on them. They get to negotiate a settlement of some kind to make it go away. Probably because it's cheaper to just settle than it would be to actually have to go through a court trial and actually have to go through the discovery process. Because if they went through the discovery process, heaven knows what they'd have to admit to in that. JB Liza, since Kiro asked, the Keanu Reeves version of 47 Ronin is okay. Not terrible, but definitely not the greatest samurai film, in my opinion. Yeah, that was when I first read that one, I was like, you're obviously not talking about the Keanu Reeves movie. Oh yeah, the old black and white one, yeah. I never saw that Keanu Reeves movie. Everything I saw and heard about it was so I didn't bother. Yeah. Keanu Reeves is not an immediate. I have to watch that movie for me. Actually, I'm not even sure that there is a. At least not recently. I was trying to think the other day on Midnight's Edge in the morning on Monday. We talked about, as we've talked about before, the death of the movie star and like what current stars, quote unquote movie stars, could open a movie, as in simply them being there would draw people to see a movie. And I couldn't. It was difficult for me to think of any current actors or actresses who just by showing up could, quote unquote, open a movie. Somebody we were talking about, like Margot Robbie. And they said, well, Barbie made a lot of money. Like, yeah, I think Barbie opened that movie. I don't think Margot Robbie opened that movie. But I tried to think back yesterday, like, who is someone that I would have seen their movie regardless of what it was? Just because I knew it was their movie, it's like, blah, starring blah, and like that'd be a movie I'd go see. And I was trying to think back to, I think it was back in my childhood, the last time I cared about like seeing a movie with a particular actor in it. And only two names came to mind. It was either Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because, like, if it was a Sylvester Stallone movie or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, I was like, yeah. It really didn't matter what it was. Over the top? Sure. Why not? The Sixth Day? What the heck? They often weren't good movies, but, if it's Stallone or Schwarzenegger, you're probably going to see it. Or maybe back in the day, and I'm talking back in the day, Steven Seagal. Like for that very sort of golden age thin Steven Seagal. Yeah, all the way up through. I think everything took a dive with Under Siege 2. It seems like everything prior to Under Siege 2 was decent. And then when you get to Dark Territory, it just, oh. Yeah, Eric Bogosian. I just remember Eric Bogosian as the villain of Under Siege 2. God, that guy. He was in that, wasn't that movie with, he was like a DJ host or something, and like a murder happened. It was like Talk to Me or On the Air or something. I forget what it was. Anyway, yeah, Steven Seagal versus Eric Bogosian, Dark Territory. Why do I remember these things? I don't know. It's bizarre. Anyway, with that diversion aside, after I say Harrison Ford used to be one of them. I don't know. I mean, like, Regarding Henry came out. It was a Harrison Ford movie. Did you automatically want to go see Regarding Henry? Or Witness? I mean, maybe? I can't remember really being that excited. If it was Indiana Jones, then sure. If I knew that Han Solo would be in it, sure. I don't know that Harrison Ford himself was ever much of a draw. Of course, I was biased. Harrison Ford's biggest action stuff aside from Indiana Jones was the Tom Clancy movies. But I can't help but be partial to Alec Baldwin's Jack Ryan. I never really bought Harrison Ford's Jack Ryan. I'm sorry. Jack Ryan was supposed to be he wasn't meant to be an action hero. That was his whole thing, is that he was a wounded Marine And he was an analyst, and he did stuff for the CIA, but he wasn't a field agent. He wasn't some kind of jump from the roof and rappel down kind of guy. And Alec Baldwin, at least in Hunt for Red October, at that time and at his age, he exemplified someone you wouldn't imagine being an action hero. So when he did have to do something action-oriented, there was more suspense there because he seemed out of place. However, if you replace Alec Baldwin with Indiana Jones and Han Solo, then that kind of sense of suspense and sense of danger kind of takes a holiday. And I'm not saying that, Harrison Ford did a bad job in those movies. It just, I didn't believe him in the role as much. But that's whole other situation, whole other discussion. What about The Fugitive? Well, yeah, The Fugitive... okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, that movie was good. How can I put it? Well, it helped that the role that he was in was not immediately meant to be seen as an action hero. And the stuff that he didn't come across as professional grade type stuff. I think that movie was helped by having a competent opponent. It wasn't really a villain per se, Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah, okay, that might be the exception. Because at least they kept it, well, except for that waterfall jump. I mean, that waterfall jump, that whole scene was awesome. But Dr. Kimball would be dead. It's just anybody jumping out of that waterfall thing would be dead. There's no way about it. Like, I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. That was great. Anyway, that's the show, guys. Just a little programming note. I guess it may be up in the near future. I don't need to keep it super secret, I guess. But I have now participated in reviewing the latest, or not, I guess not the latest, but we're starting to review the Titan series of Conan the Barbarian comic books for Midnight's Edge. So Andre and I today recorded some thoughts and along with some accompanying images regarding the Conan comic books, the series that's been out from Titan Comics for the last couple of years. And we're going to be proceeding through those bit by bit. And yeah, so it's been recorded. I assume it'll go up soonish. I think Andre has some editing to do or to add some things to it. And this will end up being a regular feature on Midnight's Edge as we proceed through and review the Conan comic book series, both the Savage Sword of Conan and the regular Conan the Barbarian comics as we go. And so, yeah, I get to geek out on Conan the Barbarian, if you're excited about that. So look forward to that. And might be a weekly thing. Not sure yet. It's still kind of nebulous. But that happened today, so look for that soon. And as soon as I have a link to it, I will put it up there on the Discord server. Speaking of the Discord server, do you guys know I have a Discord server? I have a Discord server. If you'd like to join the Discord server, there's a link in the chat right now. All you have to do is click on that link, and you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you actually watched the stream, are not a bot, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is footwear. Just say hello, footwear, and I'll know that you watched the show. Beyond that, if you haven't already, please do leave a like down below. And if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. And if you think you're subscribed, check that you're still subscribed, because YouTube sometimes does silly things, and you should always double check on the YouTubes. Beyond that, you'll find me tomorrow, unless something comes up, at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time on Midnight's Edge in the morning, where we'll talk about movies and entertainment and whatever Jimmy Kimmel's going to say tonight. Yay! I'm sure that'll come up too. And then Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, be here for TED Excellence, along with TEDx Bingo, as we go over another off-brand TED Talk for education and enlightenment. What will it be this week? I have no idea. They've posted a bunch of nonsense. It's AI this and AI that and AI this and AI that. I'm getting sick of AI presentations. Over and over. And how will AI affect this? Will AI do that? Can we survive AI? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. TEDx needs to find a new hook. They're doing more AI than when the metaverse was the big thing. So finding something interesting is becoming more difficult with TEDx. I know. I've got a couple in storage, a couple in the back, in case I need to have a fallback position. But if they don't post something interesting this week, man, I'm going to be frustrated. Anyway, looking forward to that. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or, and I completely forgot to mention it, at the top of the chat box, guys, there's a link to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Please take a look at that if you have the opportunity. If you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't, please share that on social media. Thank you so much ahead of time for that. Otherwise, everybody, I hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday. I hope you have a good Wednesday ahead of you and the rest of the week. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.